Alright guys, what's up? So, if this video sounds like it's been a little rehearsed, sounds a little rushed, it's probably because the first time I did this video, I messed up, I did the ultimate editing fail, and I deleted the original video in the midst of editing it. Why? I don't know. Wish I had an answer for you. But whatever, because it's okay, because the last video sucked. The lighting sucked, the camera was tilted, and the audio also sucked. So, everything happens for a reason, and now we're here dealing with this. Anyway, let's get into it. So I just want to go over everything that happened at UFC Fight Island, all the 4 events that took place, some of the things that caught my eye, some of the things that piqued my interest, as well as fighters to keep an eye out for, and what's to come in the future. So let's start off with Amanda Ribas. Coming into this fight, you knew she was going to fight a veteran in Paige Van Zandt, and she did great. Finished her in the first round due to an armbar. After that, you know, most fighters, whenever they get done, they're just like, all right, fight done, did my job, go home, focused on my next fight. But she stuck around. She was actually very interactive with fans and the media and stuff. She got her name out there, made a good impression. Every interview I've seen her in, she seems like a super genuine, nice, humble human being. So yeah, definitely want to see her again. Hope that she excels in her career in the UFC. Next is Rose Namajunas, and she honestly handled her rematch with Jessica Andrade very well. She looked cool, calm, collected, confident, and you know, a confident Rose is a deadly Rose, and you know, she put everything together, looked really well. I know she's aiming for another title fight as soon as possible, but I think she still needs a couple more, if not just one more opponent before she gets another title shot to regain her title back. So I hope to see Thug Rose back in the octagon again, hopefully one more time before the end of the year, and hopefully she makes an even bigger statement than she did in her rematch. Next, I want to talk about a fighter that caught me as well as my friends by surprise. His name is Jorge Prochazka, and yeah, this guy fought super unorthodox. Weren't really known what to expect from this guy. He didn't move like most light heavyweights do, but he ended up getting the knockout finish in a decisive manner in the second round. After seeing him take some shots, he could definitely take a punch. He has a good chin on him. Obviously, that unorthodox movement is very risky, but it definitely paid off. And so this was Prochazka's debut in the UFC. He said he came to this organization so that he could fight John Jones, which is basically Thanos of the light heavyweight division right now. But he said he's willing to work his way to that title shot, so it's not just going to be given to him. And I look forward to see who he's going to fight next. If y'all have any prospects or anybody else he should fight next, definitely feel free to let me know. Next, we're going to talk about Max Holloway versus Volkanovski 2. So this fight had a lot of controversy going into it, and it left with just as much going out of it. Volkanovski obviously won by that decision. Leading up to the fight, Volkanovski said that he wanted to win decisively, so that there wasn't any more talk about, you know, who really won that first fight. He said he wanted to make it clear in everybody's mind that he was a rightful champion. But the way the second fight ended, I mean, we're kind of left in the same question mark area. Y'all saw the verdict numbers from the last video I did. Honestly, after 10 rounds, you should probably just let these guys get into the cage and then see who wins decisively or finishes the other one. Volkanovski says he wants to find some new blood to fight, and a third fight for him right now doesn't interest him. Max, I'm sure, will take that fight, no problem. But we'll see what happens. I mean, honestly, it's up to Dana and how he wants to play this one out. Another fighter to keep your eye on is Jack Emerson. So when I was seeing this guy in his previous fights, I thought that he was just more of a get you to the ground and pound you type of guy. But then he also had some submissions on his resume, went back and looked at those. He's definitely experienced with that as well. Then when he fought Kevin Gastelum, I mean, you saw everything that he was putting together, and he really seems like a fighter that's getting better each time he fights. So every time he fights, I feel like he's bringing something new to the table. You know, he had no problem adjusting to Kevin Gastelum's pace, his rhythm, and his striking. And so when he got to the ground, you know, I thought it was going to be the same thing, ground and pound until Kevin Gastelum gives up. But surprisingly, he saw the heel hook, went for it, got the win. So yeah, I definitely want to see what this guy has to offer, see him in this next fight, and see how he develops as a fighter as well. One of the great fights that took place on Fight Island was also between Calvin Kattar versus Daniel Ige. And this fight honestly had everything that you would love to see in an MMA fight. So both of these guys came on, put on a great show, great fight. Beautiful combos were being thrown. Kattar was just a little bit better at knowing whenever he was safe to throw his combos and get out as quick as he could, and managing his distance really. And Kattar was also well at mixing it up with his hands and his kicks. He was even able to catch some kicks, turn them into some takedowns. But Daniel Ige, man, that guy is relentless. He came marching forward. Even though he was getting beat up, he knew he was losing on the points. Still, in the 5th round, neither one of these guys seemed like they were withering away anytime soon. Still, Kattar finished out the fight strong, ended up winning on that decision. But hope to see these guys back in the octagon again. Another great fight to watch was Mark Diakis, I think that's how you say his name, versus Raphael Fiziev. Also believe that's how you say his name. But these guys, great fight, definitely got fight of the night for that event. The best parts of this fight were to watch were whenever they were in the clinches and leaving the clinches. As I've watched MMA throughout the years, I've noticed the clinches to me are some of the most surprising, exciting, unexpected times of the fight. And you know, you can have those surprising times in the clinches where you don't know what's going to happen next. For example, Stipe versus DC the first time. You don't know if you're going to catch an elbow, a knee, you don't know if the heads are going to clash. Anything can really happen there. So it's really exciting to watch, and these guys definitely made the most of those clinches and the most of those exchanges. Going throughout the fight, you know, Raphael ended up leaving that fight with a win. Great sportsmanship shown between these two competitors. Obviously, the respect was there the whole time. Great fight. Hope to see both of these guys back into the octagon again, looking even sharper and even better. Then we had a great technical matchup between Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. We know Robert Whittaker was coming off the loss to Israel Adesanya. Darren Till was coming off his win against Kelvin Gastelum. And Darren Till is still fairly new to this division. Darren Till, to me, seemed like he took a little bit longer in the first round to warm up. But once he did, he was finding more success significantly with the strikes. That left hand definitely got Robert Whittaker's respect after it landed a couple times. Robert Whittaker stayed busy. He knew he had to land in points and bunches. He ended up getting some takedowns. But Till did well to adjust to those, was able to get back to his feet in a timely manner. Didn't take too much damage on the ground. And both of these guys ended up making it all 5 rounds. And Robert Whittaker ended up winning in the decision. Even though Darren Till lost, it seemed like he ended up getting more recognition off of that. I know that in his last fight, he was super honest about the nerves that he was feeling for fighting Gastelum. He even talked about how he was thinking about faking an injury just to get out of that fight. So I think people appreciate that honesty from a fighter. You know, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of balls to make that walk down to the octagon, knowing that the other guy in that cage is trying to take you out. Till even got the attention of Israel Adesanya, the champion, saying that eventually he wants to fight him down the road and to keep his head up. Darren Till seems like he understands that as well. He wants that fight as well. Darren Till said, let me go ahead and get a knockout in this division, and then he'll be more excited to fight Israel Adesanya later down the line. So honestly, I would recommend any of these 3 fights for anybody to watch. You have Kattar versus Ige, Diakis versus Fiziev, and now you have Till versus Robert Whittaker. So all those are great fights to watch. Definitely entertaining. I recommend anybody go back and see them if you're looking for a fight to watch. Next, we'll talk about the guy who needs no introduction and the guy who saved UFC 251, and that's Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. He's definitely a guy that everybody's excited to see fight again, and honestly, I think his stock bumped up even higher than expected. He came in, took the fight on 6 days notice, cut 20 plus pounds to make weight. Then he ended up getting a bigger pay cut than his last fight after negotiating. On top of that, he survived all 5 rounds with the champion. Definitely could plead his case to get a rematch. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Masvidal after all the smoke clears. For right now, Burns is up next to fight Usman, and Jorge Masvidal kind of can play the field until then. And the last name I want to mention is the guy who's probably taken the MMA world by storm in the past week. You've probably heard of him by now. That's Khamzat Chimaev. So this guy's made a crazy impression. First off, the things he's been doing. He's been with the UFC for maybe a month, give or take a couple of days. So this guy comes in, fights at middleweight, finishes his opponent in the second round with a Degar's choke. Then he fights again just 10 days later. 10 days later. Fights again at welterweight, beats his opponent in the first round, simply just dominates him, just takes him to the ground and pounds it out, finishes the fight, quick, easy, has a great post-fight interview. He's probably the guy who's come out the biggest winner out of all the UFC events on Fight Island. For sure gonna have his name being thrown around a lot, have some other mentions to go around. Everybody in the MMA media, MMA fans, have all been talking about this guy. He's just following up on all the hype and all the attention he's already been getting. He's already been going back and forth with Conor McGregor on Twitter. They've been having their exchange. So if you're like me, you definitely want to see this guy fight as soon as possible. And surprise, surprise, we may be lucky enough because supposedly he's been in talks with Dana White to get on the UFC 252 card, which is Stipe versus DC, and that event's scheduled for August 15th. So if he does that, this guy can have 3 fights in the matter of weeks, when it's rare for most fighters to fight more than 3 times a year. I can't think of anybody else who's done that, at least not in this short amount of time in the UFC. If I'm wrong, let me know, send me that information. But what this dude's doing right now in this day of age of the UFC is remarkable. I hope that he continues to succeed. He's definitely a force to be reckoned with, even if he wins or loses on this next fight coming up. If he even fights on August 15th. He's already been a winner. He's already going down doing remarkable, legendary things. But yeah, hope to see the best from this guy. Guys, that pretty much wraps up my analysis for UFC Fight Island. UFC's heading back to Vegas this weekend. So you'll see me again soon when I do a predictions video for Stipe versus DC and all the fights on that card. Also, if you want to catch me on Xbox Live, my gamer tag is DeathTron325. So I stay pretty active on Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, and I'm always looking for new opponents in Mortal Kombat.
And any one of these little melody fools can get it!
So feel free to hit me up, and other than that, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.